Welcome back to America Decides. In 2018, then President Donald Trump promised a massive Foxconn flat-screen TV factory in Wisconsin would be the 8th wonder of the world. Well, that never happened. Fast forward, and tomorrow, President Joe Biden will be in the state to highlight Microsoft's plan to expand a data center complex there. Let's bring in our Aaron Navarro, who is covering the president's campaign. Aaron, it's great to see you. So President Biden is not only going to the state where Trump touted his project, he's going to the exact same event site, which feels like a little bit of trolling. So what message do you think the president has tomorrow for voters?
Hi, Weijia. Well, this is the contrast the White House and more particularly the Biden campaign wants to make with Trump, that President Biden is actually getting some of these infrastructure jobs done while President Trump did not. And as you mentioned, they are expanding a data operations center for Microsoft in Racine County. This is what the president is going to be highlighting tomorrow. And parts of it will be built on parts of the land that was actually allocated and meant for the Foxconn project back in 2017. But all of this is coming as polls show that voters in these crucial battleground states believe that former President Trump, not President Biden, have a better grasp on the economy.
I'm glad you brought up recent polling, Aaron, because, back in 2020, this was such a close race. And obviously, Wisconsin could make or break, one of their runs. So talk to us about what else you're seeing in these polls and what issues really matter to the voters as it stands now.
Well, let's start with the economy. In our latest CBS News Battleground poll of Wisconsin, specifically, only 33% said that they believe the economy is good, and that's among likely voters. 62% believe that the economy was better under former President Trump. Hence, you're seeing President Biden try and puncture that argument, that nostalgia that voters may feel, and as President Biden talks about jobs, infrastructure under his agenda. But Wisconsin is pivotal for President Biden. It's part of those blue wall states that Democrats, up until Trump, usually won in and helped deliver the 270 electoral votes that they need. Wisconsin's part of that blue wall, along with Michigan and Pennsylvania. And from talking to Democrats here in the state, they're expecting another close race. They said that up until November, Wisconsin is a 50-50 state, but after Election Day, it's more of a 50.3% to 49.7% state. And Democrats are hoping that they have the advantage there.
Well, Donald Trump is hoping that he can crash that blue wall, and certainly his campaign is spending a lot of time there in the surrounding states as well. So talk to us about what the Trump campaign is doing to try to win back the votes.
Yeah, in those moments where he's not in the courtroom, Trump was actually in Wisconsin, in Michigan last week, hoping to shore up some of the support that we've been seeing in some of the polls, maybe win some voters over. Even though Trump doesn't necessarily have any field offices here, as far as we know, the RNC has gotten involved in several election litigation lawsuits in Wisconsin, and the RNC is also holding their big convention this summer in Milwaukee, showing that they are looking to make a big play in the state. But so is the Biden campaign. They have more than 40 offices here in Wisconsin in conjunction with the state Democratic Party. Their headquarters for their state operations is here in Milwaukee, as well as in some rural areas. So both campaigns will be in Wisconsin and have a big Wisconsin presence in the next 6 months.
And we know you'll be there as well for us. Thank you so much, Aaron Navarro.